Local time, Bojitkovo, Russia, 120 miles from the Kremlin. Igor Sechin, Russia's oil king, is about to face Putin's earth-shaking fury because he had just received news that Ukraine had launched a 2-pound warhead to destroy Russia's $3 billion oil pipeline. The Ryazan-Moscow pipeline is the steel artery of Russia's war machine. This 120-mile-long artery pumps 1.2 million barrels of refined fuel per day into Moscow, supplying an estimated 30% of the gasoline and diesel that keeps the Russian army's tanks rolling and its jets flying. To Russia, it's a $3 billion lifeline. To Ukraine, it's a single point of failure. And getting a drone this close wasn't a fluke. It's the final move in a game that started weeks ago. Ukraine's military intelligence directorate orchestrated this strike like a master hunter. Fed a steady diet of U.S. satellite data, they mapped the pipeline's entire path, identifying this exact weak spot near Bojitkovo. By mid-August, the entire plan was locked hit at 12:30 a.m. when the late summer fog rolls in at a cool 50 degrees Fahrenheit, and the Russian sentries are fighting off their third cup of lukewarm coffee. Naturally, the Russians guard this thing like it's the last slice of pizza on Earth. On the operator's tactical map, the pipeline is a thin green line running through a terrifying spiderweb of red. That web is woven by Russia's best. The S-400 air defense system with its 92 N6E radar can spot a fighter jet 250 miles away at 40,000 feet, but it struggles with tiny drones hugging the ground at 130 feet. Backing it up is the Krasuka-4, a beast of an electronic warfare system that can blanket 190 miles in jamming signals. But here's the dirty little secret physics doesn't want the Kremlin to know. Those billion-dollar systems are designed to look up. The Ukrainian drone flying at 130 feet is hugging the ground so tight it's practically mowing the lawn. 11:15 p.m. August 25th, 2025. Russia-Belarus border. An hour before the strike, the first pieces of the chessboard began to move. Under the cover of darkness, Ukrainian operators launched a flock of 15 Mugen 5 decoy drones. They're basically plywood lawnmowers with wings each costing about $500. Their job was to fly loud, fly dumb, and die spectacularly, pulling the eyes of Russia's air defense network away from the real show. But this wasn't just a simple decoy run. At the exact same moment, a second, far more lethal wave of long-range Lyuty drones launched towards a completely different target, the massive oil refinery in Ryazan. This is where the real 4D chess begins, and it poses a classic tactical question for all you strategists watching. If you were the Ukrainian commander, would you risk your valuable long-range drones on a real secondary strike against the refinery, inflicting bonus damage but potentially losing them, or would you play it safe and just use them as a noisy feint to guarantee the main FPV gets through? Ukraine decided to go for the jugular on both. While all this chaos was unfolding in the sky, the real ace in the hole was already deep inside Russia. A beat-up unmarked panel truck looking like it belonged to a local bakery crept to a stop in a dense patch of woods just 12 miles from the Bojitkovo pipeline section. Inside, sitting in custom-built racks, were the two FPV Rebuff drones, each spooled with a 12-mile-long fiber optic cable. This truck was a mobile launch platform, a Trojan horse on wheels. For the driver, every pothole was a potential mission failure. Every pair of passing headlights was a potential firefight. They sat in absolute silence, waiting for the signal, their mission to launch the final surgical strike once the S-400s were busy looking the other way.
The night was calm, but the silence was deceptive. Over the Russian skies near the Kursk and Belgorod regions, the hum of small engines cut through the stillness, and manned aerial vehicles, drones crafted in Ukraine's growing military workshops, were on a mission that would shake Moscow's energy backbone to its very core. Their target wasn't just another supply depot, nor was it a temporary outpost filled with ammunition. This time, the Ukrainian High Command had chosen a symbol of Russia's economic might. A $3 billion oil pipeline system that fed millions of barrels of crude to both domestic refineries and international buyers. The Ukrainian drones had been evolving with each strike. What started months earlier as small quadcopters dropping grenades onto trenches had now transformed into long-range, high-payload UAVs capable of carrying explosives hundreds of kilometers deep into Russian territory. This particular mission involved several drones working in a swarm, designed to overwhelm air defenses that had become increasingly thin and unreliable as the war dragged on. For Ukraine, the reasoning was simple. Russia's oil exports were funding the war. Every missile, every shell, every armored vehicle that rolled across Ukrainian soil was bought and maintained with petrodollars flowing in from Russia's vast energy empire. and the pipeline's sprawling veins that stretched from Siberia across the heart of Russia were the arteries keeping that empire alive. Destroying or even temporarily disrupting those pipelines would not just hit Moscow's wallet, it would strike at the very nerve center of Putin's war machine. The first drone crossed into Russian territory undetected. Using train-hugging flight pods, they flew low over fields, forests, and rivers. Their silent engines buzzed faintly, but the Russians stationed at anti-aircraft batteries were either half asleep or distracted. After months of constant warnings about drone strikes, fatigue had set in among Russian crews. They knew the drones could come anytime, but endless false alarms and limited rotations had dulled their vigilance. Then, as the drones approached the pipeline junction in the Bryansk region, the landscape below glowed with the faint outline of massive pumping stations and pressure regulators. These were the lifelines that kept the oil flowing westward toward Europe, toward Black Sea terminals, and toward markets that, despite sanctions, still found ways to buy Russian crude. The lead drone locked onto its target, a large pumping station with massive above-ground tanks. Inside those tanks sat millions of gallons of crude oil. With a flick of its onboard computer, the drone angled downward and released its payload. Seconds later, an earth-shattering explosion lit up the night. Fire roared into the sky, painting the darkness orange and red. Secondary explosions quickly followed as fuel caught fire, sending shockwaves through the surrounding area.